good morning and welcome everyone. It is Monday, June 3rd, 2024, and you're watching The War Room. I am AgYield's marketing manager and everyone's favorite backup host, Jack, here to step in for Dan today. Excited to be back. It was a long time when I wasn't hosting. We got a bunch of customer and audience feedback. They said, less Dan, more Jack, and I'm happy to offer that up today. As always, join the discussion. Jump in any way you can. Post a comment where it's available on the platform you're watching on, or you can always reach out to us at info@agyield.com. One of the comments you could put is, hey, I'm actually your 200th subscriber on YouTube. We're currently at 197. So if you like what we're doing, you want to support us any way you can, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. I'll put up a fun little social media post when we hit 200, and you can like that as well. Anyway, enough rambling from the marketing guy. Let's jump into overnight numbers from Brian.
Good morning, Jack. Appreciate it. A little mixed overnight. Corn and wheat higher, beans lower. July corn ended up 2.25 at 448.5. July beans down 7 3/4 at 1197.25, and July wheat up 18.5 at 697. There also was a sale in corn. 110,000 metric tons of corns to Spain for 23-24, confirming that it looks like we're running out of cheap corn coming out of Ukraine, and premiums may be a little bit too high in South America. So that's a little recap overnight for you guys.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Brian. As always, we'll kick it over to Dustin to start the discussion and work it around the room.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Yeah, so obviously another pop in wheat overnight. And wheat has led the charge this whole last couple of months. So to put it in perspective, one of the ways, if we were talking relative strength, the low in the July wheat contract versus corn was a 90.5 cent premium back on March 7th. Today, it's $2.47 over July wheat over July corn. So wheat has had the majority of the move, and the big question is, will some of that relative strength continue to push over into corn? We still do not believe that the corn crop is likely growing with the weather we've had, whether that be acreage or yield. And it's interesting because, just talking before we got on this, the spreads are somewhat narrowing again. So July is at about 20.5 cent carry to December, vice versa. These carry to July. And what we would, full carry, let's just say estimated somewhere in like that 50-cent range. If we had been seeing all the spreads that we had, looked at the March contract or D's contract, we had quite wide spreads going into both of those first notice days. And then that kind of changed as we got through May and into the, now we're looking at July as being the front month contract. But, the narrowing of the spreads, I think, does tell us something. The market's not getting exactly the flow it needs. We're getting sales to Spain. I think there's a good chance that corn looks undervalued here, especially when you compare it to other grains as the globe starts to tighten up on the grain side.
Yeah. Certainly. Oh, that's certainly some good points there. Anyone to add to that? Ben, any thoughts from the East?
Yeah, I would just say that, a lot of times when you hear the talking heads and the analysts and things like that, they continue to analyze the market based on what's already happened. And we operate in a futures market, right? We're trading corn that is deliverable in the fall. And yes, we could certainly see a monster crop. We could see additional acres. But with wheat at these sort of premiums, I would expect to see a larger corn trade. I would expect to see the possibility there that we can definitely improve a little bit on our balance sheets just from some picking up some additional demand. And I think that we have to still prove really good yields. And on that sort of a look, I agree with what Dustin said, that I think that that corn feels undervalued here. So, just kind of cautiously optimistic. I know that, you're fighting the seasonals, but if you go back 2 years where there were significant wheat issues, 2010, 2012, 20 or 21 out of Russia, we tend to have a delayed kind of counter seasonal type of strength in corn. It doesn't mean it happens this year, but I think that the forward look, a lot of things have to go right in order to hit the numbers that are currently being projected by the USDA.
No, thank you for that. Oh, that's great stuff. Ryland, let's jump over to you. I know last week we talked about, I guess the question on everybody's mind is how is the market kind of digesting all this bad news coming out of livestock and stuff? And has there been any updates or anything else going on?
Right. So over the weekend, there weren't really many updates on, I would say, refreshes on just what the market's already seen at this point. So obviously we ran into a lot of headwinds. So the market has been reacting pretty negatively overall to all of this kind of headline trade. No question about it. We had lower futures last week. We had lower cash last week. So it seems like you got there's a lot of things going on, I think, behind the curtain as well, just because, I think most people were really focusing on a lot of those bad stories, a little bit of more risk off, stuff like that. But you've got certain kind of pivotal dates coming up here. We've got June option expiration in the live cattle here on Friday. Then the following Monday, you got first notice day. So there should be a pretty decent repositioning here anyway. I mean, funds added last week, or the previous week, I should say, rather, 12,000 new longs. So like they were kind of getting into this more bullish kind of sentiment, bullish demand kind of sentiment going into Memorial Day. So it looks like that kind of came to fruition, but I wouldn't be surprised to see those numbers kind of moderate now that we're kind of through Memorial Day at this point. Even though we are into grilling season now, it seems like you traded a lot of that really good demand. I think some of the headwinds, at least that we've saw in the headline trade, are still going to be there. It's just probably the focus is still going to be more so on the beef and the beef performance now, because we're typically in a time frame where we'll kind of trade to a seasonal high, and then we start really trying to then we can see market kind of back off a little bit. So we'll see how this kind of unfolds, but right now it just kind of feels like that's really the big concern right now is performance in beef, and if slaughters are going to kick back up into normal, what's going to happen with cash prices were about $1 lower, which isn't that big in the South, 186, 187. In the North, they were paying like 190, 192. And then on the dress side of things, it was like 298 to 304, which would have been about $3 lower. So I don't know if that was just the Packers capitalizing on the negative action, but it kind of felt like that was kind of what was going on. So hopefully we can see a little bit of stability today, but the direction is still negative. We got 20-day moving average support coming up here in August. We haven't quite tested that yet. We took it out in the feeder market. So we'll see if we get any more follow through, because there shouldn't be too much cash news here early in the week. So that's what I got for you, Jack.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Ryland. Anything else or any other parting shots before we go up there?
Jack, I would just say, we didn't really talk much about soybeans today. And we talked about a lot of things have to go right to get to the USDA numbers for corn. And I think that to beans, it's really kind of the opposite, right? When you look at global supplies, you're going to have to see, maybe potentially some PP that would come in to be supportive to beans, some negative weather, and then maybe even some problems in South America. Otherwise, the expectation is that even with some minor drawbacks across the globe, I think that you're still going to see an inflated balance sheet. So, I think that those commodities are in two different places.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate everyone's insights and discussions today. I just want to remind everyone that we're streaming live on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. Again, we're at 197 subscribers on YouTube. I'm trying to get us to 200. So if you can prove via video that you are our 200 subscriber, I'm sending you this hat. It's a perfect hat to wear, whether you're in the field or hanging out. I'll happily give that to you as long as you prove to me that you're our 200 subscriber. And if you're our 201st, at least you get to see good content every day here on YouTube. That's enough yammering from me. I hope everyone has a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Dan will be back at 8:15 every weekday as usual. So thanks again for the discussion, guys, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.